Alright, so our second video analysis of the day comes from another local from Massachusetts, kind of not too close to where I am, but it's funny, all these New England throwers sending in videos. This one was sent in a little while ago, but with the craziness of the camp schedule in June and the camps in July that I work, it just was not able to get to this. But I believe from his video, this was some type of a middle school state championship. And this gentleman here is a lot younger. He is, I believe, he said he was 13. And a lot of the people that are throwing in the middle school state championships, or maybe he was 12, and a lot of people in the middle school championships are 13, 14. So he's a younger guy, needs to focus or really tries to focus on form and technique because of his age, because the other athletes are older. So we're going to take a look and we're going to see some ways here. This is glide shot. We're going to see some ways that he can maybe work on the technique a little bit better, or try to kind of take his technique that he has been developing for the course of the past year or so and really try to make it a little bit better. Really try to maybe exaggerate some points of the throw, or kind of put the emphasis on different spots so that he can see some good improvement. Now, first of all, let's just talk about this plywood platform. I hate how they do this. I've been to meets where they just throw down plywood like this, and what you guys are going to see is that, again, this is a 13-year-old guy. This is not some 6'5", 300-pounder. When he lands in the middle, this whole thing bows and kind of buckles, and it's just not good. If you're a coach or if you're an official and you're thinking about doing this, please don't. This is not a good look and not a good thing for the track and field world. All right, so let's take a look here. I like this start. This is much more of what would be considered kind of an active start. He's bringing the left foot in. He's up on the toe. And you can see a couple of good things that he does really well. Gets the knees together. He gets the toe close to the heel. That's going to really help him to get a big drive out of the back of the circle. You can see he's shifting his weight back. Shifting, back. And then the right heel is the last part of the foot touching in the back of the circle. So he does a good job of unseating. He does a good job of shifting his weight back. And the heel is the last part to touch. Now when he lands in the middle, it looks like both feet kind of land at the same time. See, they both kind of, the left foot might actually land a little bit before the right. So there's some dragging of the foot across the middle. That's all stuff that I think in time we can work on. And then right here, we go from the midpoint of that throw to the release at the end. So there's where the ball's about to be flicked off the finger. Okay, it's in the fingertips here, it's out here. And you can kind of see the position of the feet. So there are some things that we definitely need to work on in this throw. But like always, let's start from the back of the circle, because this is somebody who is gliding. They're at a championship meet. They are gliding. So they're doing the full technique. So let's start them in the back. Remember, what happens in the back of the circle is going to affect the rest of what happens through the middle and the front of the circle. Okay? So let's take a look. Now here, what I would love to see is I'd love to see you get lower. So what I always try to tell my athletes that have more of an active starting position in the back is I want them to try to reach for their right toe. Okay, so here you can see that left arm is really high in the air. It's about 2 feet or so off of that plywood circle. Okay, if we were to kind of Photoshop and get you angled down a little bit, if we had you reach for your left toe, what that's going to do is that's going to get your head a little bit lower and a little bit more in front of the foot. It's going to get your shoulders a little bit lower and a little bit more in front of the foot. And it's going to get your back a little bit flatter. So one of the things I always talk about is the idea of gliding underneath a shelf. If you go to, Home Depot, Lowe's, BJ's, Costco, big box kind of store, big bulk discount type store, you're going to see that that bottom shelf is about 4 feet off the ground, and it's made of plywood, kind of similar to what the circle here is made out of. Imagine trying to glide under that bottom shelf. You're going to want to stay low. You're not going to want to pop your head up in the air like this. Okay, you're not going to want to pop your head up, and you're not going to want to scrape your back and scrape your neck and hit your head on that plywood shelf. That would not feel good. You're going to want to stay nice and low and glide under that shelf. So by getting a little bit lower in the back and being a little bit more patient in this position here, getting a little bit lower, getting the head a little lower, the shoulders a little bit lower, reaching your left hand for that right toe, it's going to angle you down a little bit more and make it a little bit easier to stay lower as you glide. Okay, now the other thing we have to talk about, what that's going to help, is it's going to help your weight stay back on that right foot. Okay, so we want to make sure that in the glide, your right foot is touching down first. And again, right here, it looks like your right foot is kind of scraping against the ground. And then when you hit your power position, both feet kind of stop at the same time. You see that? How the heels drop and boom, both feet at the same time. When we reach this position, okay, when we ground that left foot, when that left heel drops, what I like to see is that your left arm is still back a little bit more. You can see here the left arm has started to bend. You're really anticipating that throw. And I want to see the left arm back, and I want to see your right foot pointed over here at 9 o'clock. Okay, so the right toe, the right knee, they're going to be a little bit more underneath you, and the right foot is going to be pointed toward 9 o'clock. Now what that's going to do is, number one, it's going to increase separation. If the lower body is a little bit more forward and the upper body is a little bit more back, you're going to have more tension, more torque, and you're going to increase separation. That's also going to make it easier for you to get those hips down the middle. So right here, if we say, this kind of crease in the circle is 9 o'clock and the back of the circle is 12, your foot at this point is kind of pointing toward like between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. You're pointing back here. So you have to move not only not only have to move to 6 o'clock, point the knee, point the toe, point everything down the middle towards 6 o'clock, you need to go from here all the way to 6 o'clock, where it would just be a lot easier to go from 9 to 6. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster to go from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So let's really work on kind of sucking that right leg underneath you, pulling that right leg underneath you a little bit better, and landing up on the ball of the right foot with your toe and your knee pointing over here toward 9 o'clock. Now what that's going to do, it's going to correct a lot of things. Like we said, it's going to increase separation. Okay, it's going to make it a lot easier to turn your knee and your foot down the middle at the same time. But it's also going to keep more weight on top of that right leg, so you're not so heavy on your left. And you can see here, when you go to throw, you start shifting onto your left. And the reason that shift happens is because that right foot, well, a few things. The right foot's not underneath you, but it's really hard to turn that right foot because it's flat. See how the right foot is flat on the ground? You're almost on the inside, or you are on the inside of that right foot. So you're not turning that right side. Okay, and the reason you're not turning that right side, or it's hard to turn that right side, is because it's flat on the ground. Okay, so up on the ball of the right foot, turning the right foot toward 9 o'clock, going to make it a lot easier to pivot and keep your weight back. And that in turn is going to make it so you can keep your feet on the ground all the way until this point here where you're getting ready to deliver the ball. Okay, so a lot of these things you can see, it's sort of one builds onto the next, which builds onto the next. It's a connection. Okay, it's that reaction of what happens in the back is going to affect what happens in the middle. So if we can keep you lower in the back, if we can keep your weight farther back in the back of the circle, your weight is going to be behind you a little bit better in the middle of the circle. It's going to make it easier to turn that right foot. It's going to make it easier to land with that right-left sequence. It's going to make it easier to keep the foot on the ground, and it's going to make it so that you deliver more power into the ground when you're delivering that ball. So everything is connected together. Everything starts in the back of the circle. So let's work on that first. Number one, staying lower in the back, reaching for your right toe in the back, keeping your back flat, staying low, whatever you got to tell yourself, that's step one, lower in the back. Step two is turning the right knee and turning the right foot toward 9 o'clock when you go to enter into or land in the power position. Turn the right knee, turn the right foot, all as one unit, turn it toward 9 o'clock. And then you should be able to, again, turn your foot easier, keep your foot on the ground better, all the way through the delivery of that shot. So this jumping and leaping off the ground and bending the knee and this kind of thing, that's going to be a thing of the past. Okay, I want that foot on the ground all the way to this point. Once it's out of your hand, then you can pick your foot up on the ground or off the ground and try to save the throw. Okay, but that high kick, lean, kind of pushing to the left kind of thing, there's no power in that. Power comes from pushing through the ground. So if we can keep that foot here, if we can keep driving through the ground all the way until delivery, you're going to throw farther, but work backwards. Okay, everything starts in the back. Back of the circle, middle of the circle, finish. Low in the back, low in the middle. Okay, turn the right foot, turn the right knee in the middle. That's going to equate to turning the right foot, turning the right knee better, keeping it on the ground easier, and creating more power at the end. All right, so work on those things for me. If you have any questions, as always, guys, please leave your comments in the comment or your questions in the comment section down below. And if there is anything else that you all need help with, please make sure to let me know, and we will get to those questions in a future video.